Hello and welcome to my Siege of Orgrimmar raid guide. My name is Aliena, and in this video, I'll show you all you need to know about Thok the Bloodthirsty, the 11th boss in this new raid instance. We completed this fight with 2 tanks, 6 healers and 17 DPS, but similar raid configurations may work just as well. Thok is a 2-phase encounter with an emphasis on raid coordination and healing. During phase 1, he has both a tail swipe and a frontal cone attack, so to start out and every time phase 1 repeats, the raid should be stacked and positioned at his side. Thok's tank swap ability is called Fearsome Roar. This deals about 200k damage, but also increases damage taken by 25% per application, and it stacks. Tanks should switch off after about 2 roars or whenever damage becomes too threatening. The main ability you have to deal with in this phase is Deafening Screech. Thok uses this when he has 100 energy. Much like Unda's does Piercing Roar, this inflicts rate-wide AoE damage and interrupts spellcasts, albeit only for 2 seconds. Every time Thok uses Deafening Screech, his energy gain speeds up considerably, which means he'll start spamming the Screech very quickly, making it hard to heal up the damage. Abilities such as Devotional Aura will grant temporary immunity to the spell interrupt component of Screech, so it's useful to use this towards the end of the phase. When 15 raid members within 10 yards, or 5 raid members in the 10-man version, drop below 50% health, Thok will smell their blood and enter phase 2, Blood Frenzy. However, your goal is to stay in phase 1 as long as you possibly can to maximize DPS. To do this, you'll want elaborate cooldown chains set up ahead of time. We started using defensive cooldowns after about 4 screeches, and our goal was to get between 8 or 10 before Blood Frenzy triggers. Sometimes we exceeded this, and sometimes we fell short, but it's important to drag it out as long as your raid possibly can. Once Blood Frenzy triggers, Thok will become untankable and instead fixates on random raid members. Anyone in front of Thok will be automatically devoured, so if he catches up to someone he is fixated on or if somebody is mindlessly in his way, they'll die. Thok's run speed will consistently get faster throughout this phase, so your goal is to end it as fast as possible before he starts eating people. To do this, you have to kill the Corcoran Jailer ad that spawns at the entrance to the room at the start of a Blood Frenzy, collect his key, and open one of the 3 cage doors at the edges of the room. Each cage contains a different prisoner, and depending on who you free, the encounter will change. Jailers can enrage, which can be dispelled, so you should have somebody assigned to keep an eye out for that. We found the best order to release prisoners was Waterspeaker Gorai in the first Blood Frenzy, Acolyte in the second Blood Frenzy, and Warmaster Montauk in the last Blood Frenzy. Once a prisoner is released, they will attract Thok's attention and he'll proceed to eat them. Congratulations, you've mastered the art of humanoid sacrifice. As a side note, we found that the best way to handle positioning during Blood Frenzy was to keep the middle of the room free as kite space for the fixated people, and had the rest of the raid clumped around the door that contained the prisoner that we were about to release. Thok will suffer a bad case of indigestion and return to phase 1. Your raid should once again assume the phase 1 positioning, and again the goal is to stay in this phase for as long as possible. If you sacrificed Waterspeaker Gorai first, Thok will gain some new abilities. First off, his Fearsome Roar is replaced by Freezing Breath. This inflicts some mild damage, but more importantly freezes a tank solid if they accumulate 5 stacks of the debuff. Tanks need to taunt off of each other before that happens. He also learns Icy Blood, which deals damage to random raid members but also inflicts a debuff. If a raid member happens to get 5 stacks of this debuff, they get frozen solid and need to be broken out of their Ice Tune. This is unavoidable, so your DPS just needs to keep an eye out for any frozen players. Again, once 15 or 5 people within 10 yards drop below 50% health, another Blood Frenzy will trigger, and once again you have to defeat a jailer and free a prisoner so he can get eaten. Assuming you're freeling Acolyte, you'll have to contend with Acid Breath and Corrosive Blood. Acid Breath replaces Fearsome Roar, deals about 500k damage and will reduce armor by 20% per stack. Again, have your tanks taunt after about 2 stacks of this. Personal cooldowns are also recommended for the Acid Breaths. Corrosive Blood is a very potent dot that Thok will put on random raid members. It deals damage every second for 30 seconds and can't stack. Master spells are very helpful, and any priest in your raid should be ready to help dispel this. If this phase proves to be a problem, you may want to save Bloodlust for it. Once Thok triggers his next Blood Frenzy, it's time to free the last prisoner, presumably Warmaster Montauk. You will still have to deal with the debuffs until after this Blood Frenzy is over, so make sure your raid members remain in range of healers. If they get separated with a dot, they might die. Eating Montauk grants Thok Scorching Breath and Burning Blood. Scorching Breath replaces Fearsome Roar and inflicts some mild fire damage plus a stacking fire dot. Tanks should switch off after about 2 stacks of the debuff. Burning Blood will put fire puddles under random raid members, making it almost impossible to stack up in this phase. That's also the reason we left Montauk for last. Your raid should still be loosely stacked on Thok's side, but you want to keep a close eye on your feet so you don't take more fire damage than necessary. Ideally, you want to kill Thok during this phase. If you don't, you get one last Blood Frenzy to finish him off, but since you're out of prisoners, he will not leave the Blood Frenzy and instead go on to devour your raid over time. This serves as a softened rage timer. If you manage to drag out Doc's stationary phases as much as possible and can keep up with the sometimes rough healing, Doc should go down in a timely manner. Those are all the tips that I have for this fight. Thank you for watching this guide, I hope it was helpful. I stream most of our raids and other gaming content over at Twitch. I'll put the link in the description box, so come stop by sometime.